Hi everyone, time for another chart reading. And today we have a reflector. This is only 1% of the population. There are 4 auras in human design: generator aura, projector aura, manifestor aura, and reflector aura. This happens when we have no definition. There are no gates that are meeting in the middle to create a channel. So everything is open, nothing is fixed. This is an aura that is sampling, it's an aura that's reflective. So we can see these a bit like mirrors. It's taking in and it's mirroring back to you. It can also amplify, like we know with all the open centers, they can amplify what comes in. Here, the strategy is to wait for clarity. And it's good for the reflector to speak with other people and actually hear its own voice. That's a little bit the same strategy that we would have for a mental projector, that what we call sounding board. So be able to speak, be able to hear your own voice, hear the energy come out of you, because there's so much energy that comes in all these open centers. What I always say about the energy direction, when you have an open center, it's taking in, it's a filter, and it has to learn, is this belonging to me or not? Learn to discern if it's yours or if it isn't yours. Wherever you have a defined center, which we don't have in this chart, it's where the energy goes out from you into the world and it influences the world. And what we have here is the reflectiveness of taking so much in and then being able to give it back, but finding a sense of self so that it's not taking you off your center with everything you take in. So a reflector can need time alone to have different practices to shake out the energy that you're taking in. And it's important to have trusted friends. And like we say, to discuss things with them, to also to be listened to is extremely important. We have the signature here is surprise. So go through the world and be surprised in a positive way. And the not self is disappointment, because there is so much that you're taking in the world that is disappointing, of course, but that would be the lower frequency. And we have all heard probably the lunar cycle. So if all the other aura types are solar beings, here we have a lunar being. So because we don't have an inner authority, we have no definition, it's to wait for the moon to do a whole cycle. And every time the moon is going to be somewhere in the transits, it's going to create different definition here in the chart. There's going to be different energies every day. So when the moon has gone through its cycle and it has activated all the 64 numbers in the body graph, then you have felt all the energies, and then clarity can be there more easily, because it's the moon that is the compass and not what other people are in a way defining you with through their activations. So there is something with a reflector where it can feel overlooked, because there is not this energy from the centers that's going out in the world. And then it's like sometimes it can seem invisible. And there is not this fixed energy that wants to express in a certain way in the world or manifest in a certain way. So it's important that we don't overlook reflectors, that they have an enormous wisdom. If we think about how people used to live before in villages with maybe 100 people, so out of 100 people there's going to be one reflector. So this would be the person that's reflecting back to the village. This is how healthy this village is. And if it's a child that's a reflector that doesn't speak yet, it's actually looking at the well-being of that child and can then see the well-being of the whole village. So through taking in all this, and also through having to have the patience with the longer cycles before clarity, there is an enormous wisdom that can develop in the reflector, that all the other aura types there can be so much value listening to that wisdom. And especially when we have a reflector that is appreciated, that is in its right environment, so that it can feel surprised by the fact that people actually want that wisdom, that people actually listen. So if you put a reflector in an environment that's not good for them, and they have to take in through all these open centers, that environment that isn't healthy, that can in a way almost kill a reflector, so important, the environment where is the right place for you, and feel that you can try new things and go to new places, and you also surprise yourself. There's something with that as well, that we can give ourselves so much of what's good for us that when we learn to understand our design. So time and space, and this goes together with the gene keys and the 6 lines, especially in the EQ, in the SQ, and the EQ as well. It's to give yourself that time, that space, have patience with yourself. And the same thing for others with the reflectors. I feel today a little bit more than a chart reading. I'm feeling like I'm taking a reflector's sides and standing up, so that they aren't going to be overlooked. So also, as a reflector, find your own environment that's good for you. You can do that, and then find rhythms that can help you, because it can be overwhelming to take in so many different energies all the time. So also feel like you can find a rhythm that works for you, that feels supporting. Healthy boundaries, because you're taking in so much and you have that wisdom. So once people actually see you, they can pretend a lot from you. So having those healthy boundaries, not overcommitting. You aren't an energy type in any way. There's no motor here that is defined. The motor is the root, the sacral, the ego, and the emotional. Nothing of that is defined. Learn when to engage and when to detach. And when you detach, know that having practices like shaking or drumming or toning, like, depending also on the lines that you have, different ways of moving the energy out. Here we have a 5th line in the design earth and the design sun, which is vibration. So any kind of vibration for this chart can be good of getting the energy out of the centers, the energy that doesn't belong to you. And give yourself time for rest and reflection. And you don't need to make a decision really fast. You can ask for people to have that patience, and even having that patience with yourself. When you say, why don't I know? Why don't I even know how I feel? I have a completely open emotional center. So sometimes I don't know what I feel. It takes a while because it has that reflector quality with nothing at all in it, in my case. So it's okay to not know. It's okay to take time in that sense. And the genius for the reflector type is the uniqueness and the wisdom that's developed over time, the perceptiveness of being able to in and discern. It can be a shapeshifter, because depending on the environment you're in, you're going to be able to shift. You're going to be able to shape. You have extrasensory abilities, because you have all of these centers where we have the eyes and the ears and the smell, and everything that we have in different places on the chart is open. So you have that extrasensory ability to take in. And there is also like a vision, that surprise, that futuristic, what we said, that has to do with the 6th line as well, in the gene keys. It's a future that you're bringing in, a future where we can't just hurry everything, but we have to respect nature. So here I see a 3-5 and I see the cross of penetration. So for this particular chart, there is, and I don't see the arrows around the head because it's not an advanced chart, so I can't see your cognition and your motivation. But just by looking at the incarnation cross of penetration in the 3-5, there, I know that there's energy there, and there can be this wanting to penetrate, wanting it to happen fast, wanting to shock, So I'm wanting to climb the ladder, having those high aspirations. So that can be a little bit of a paradox with this chart. So that's something that you need to be able to discriminate. And here we have the moon in the 12.5, which is about discrimination, knowing what is the pure thing to say and do in this moment. And with this openness, there's also this ability for the reflector to actually tap into the network, tap into different things, feel them fully. So when we go more into the specific chart, what I would speak a lot about is that incarnation cross, because when you're a reflector and not so much is fixed in you, what you want to do is to kind of have something to come back to. So here, this incarnation cross of penetration, and the gift frequency, the higher frequency we would speak about in the gene keys, would be initiative for this 51. So it is an initiative that goes that is aligned with what we just spoke about, when it comes to how you move through life, how you decide in your environment. So an initiative that includes boundaries, that includes being in the right environment, that includes giving yourself time to rest. That's the kind of initiative that is going to lead to opening for you and not to agitation in the body. And then we know that with all this openness and having your personality earth, or what we call in the gene keys your evolution, the 57, you are going to feel the unease of the world. You're going to see how that unease lead to turmoil, lead to failure sometimes, because we aren't listening to our intuition. So maybe this is where you're seeing all the initiatives that are taken in the world that aren't serving for anything more than creating more agitation and unease in people. So learning gentleness, learning, the 57 is the gentle wind in the I Ching. So learning to be more gentle, learning to have more humor as well with things that go wrong, and even what doesn't go wrong in you, but what you see in the world. It's to have that playfulness with it, and take initiative and know that sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it's not going to work. And we go in more to the purpose and the radiance, which is the design, sun and earth. We have this ability to expand, to aspire, to climb the ladder. And it's so important here that you don't climb the ladder of the 3D power structures. Because as a reflector, like we said, as a lot of that 6-line quality, you're not here to trust in the 3D power structure. You're here to bring new structures with a higher vibration. The 5th line is about vibration. So you are building, you are creating abundance. You're building a way to ascend with others that is completely new and that is vibrational. It's not 3D structures. Like I said before, the 12 is your discernment. You have quite a lot of definition here in your throat. So it's your unique style, it's your discernment. Important to not go into vanity, but discernment and caution before you speak, because you are powerful. And also that you want to speak. I mean, we say that about projectors. Don't waste your energy speaking when nobody can when the other can't receive you. So that's the same thing here. It's good to know that you're valued, that you are in environment, in situations with people that can see that you are precious, and that's where you want to put your energy to express yourself. And here we also have this wanting the adventure, and this with the openness and with the shape shifting. You can have adventures that are so multifaceted, which is beautiful. And I see that 12 is also your north node. So there is something here with your drive and your north node that are going hand in hand. And I also see you have the 11 so many times. You are going to be able to play with different archetypes, even go to the underworld and play with those archetypes, and then to the celestial realms and play with those archetypes. You have that abstract imagery in you, and at the same time you have the logical. So your eye can both zoom in and out on details and be really logical, and it can see all these abstract archetypes, and that aren't afraid to go to the ugly as well, which is combined then with the programming partner in the 12 that's on the opposite side of the wheel, that says, I want truth. It doesn't matter if it's ugly or if it's beautiful. I can play with all the archetype. I can shape shift. I can even be all the archetypes. I see in your culture you have the 2.4. So the culture is your design Jupiter, and it's about how to move through the world on an everyday basis. So here we see you are a reflector, you're very inclusive. You can embrace things. The 2.4 is my life's work. So for me, it has been difficult to set boundaries, to not take everything in and embrace it. It's been hard to cut as well, and to say, okay, now I'm not going to engage anymore, because once I'm in, I'm in. So here we know that on an everyday basis, it's important for you to be surrounded by your network, to have the people that you can reach out to, that you're playing with. And at the same time, you are that person that can include everybody. That's not going to exclude anyone. And you want to be a little bit careful with that, super receptive feminine, so that it's not negative for you, taking in things that aren't good for you. And we also see the 8, which is your unique expression. We see the 43. We have with the 2, we have this individual circuitry in the 8, which is the agent for creativity. The 43, which is that insight, the lightning rod. You take in things, they go around in your system, and then the penny drops, and you have an insight that you're here to express in the world, with how you move in form, and also with how you express yourself. And the 64 is another key that you have 4 times. So here there can be confusion. You are taking in so much, there can be confusion. But we want you to use that 11, and that the 11 with those disability that you have to feel and see and perceive with all the senses. That's your imagination. That's what you're here. That's the kind of art that you're here to be. It's in your, and that's part of your transformation. And probably that having to go, to the lowest low and the highest high, in a way, in order for your truth to really be found. And looking again on the repeats, you also have the 51, both in your Mercury, your relating, your communication, and your Venus, your values, in your life's work, like we saw from the beginning. So life is going to shock you. And I also think that you're going to shock others. So to find those environments where that's okay, to be initiating things that have maybe not been initiated before, that is going to take us out of unease and agitation, and bring us into gentleness, bring us back to intuition, bring us back to an initiative that is good for us, for each one of us. And your North Node is this Gemini energy. So curiosity of life, not burn yourself. We have the South Node in Sagittarius. So you're not here to burn yourself. You're here to be curious, to be on an adventure, to be speaking, with different people, maybe different languages, and to find truth. That's really it with the 12. That's really it with Mercury and Gemini. You're here to find your truth. And then express that truth. And the way that you express it, I feel, with that 2.4 is through form. The 2 is the form principle. It's the direction, is the way shower. You're showing it from your body, from your heart. And you're also showing it as an artist with a 64 4 times. So this is a very powerful chart. We want you to be able to break out of that agitation, of that feeling like you have to do things the way that other people do it, which would create an ease in your body. So living without an agenda, breaking out for that need for approval by living your life without an agenda. And that's when your 5th line, that's when your mastery can start to show in the world. That's when you can be an example of ascension, an example of abundance, and not the abundance that we are used to see in the 3D power structure, climbing the ladder of having more money. And, it's not about that kind of expansion or abundance in your case. It's a vibrational expansion that you are here to be a way shower of, by not being afraid of the darkest dark or the lightest light, but being able to be a shapeshifter in all these different nuances and areas and places of life and existence. So I hope that helped. And even if you are another reflector with another chart and other numbers, I feel like this can be important for you as well, because like we said before, reflectors can be overlooked. We often wait until the end of any kind of lecture and we spend a little bit of time on the reflector after having spoken about all the other aura types. So I feel it's important that we don't overlook this, really unique unicorn like species that we have in the reflector. So thank you all. Bye.